Hello, it's Brandy Davison here. I'm a sparkler with SpiegelMom Scraps, and I'm here to show you a massive shaker pocket I've made with the Foxy Roxy new sequin mix. I am using 3 photos there on the side and that you can see on the side there, and I'm using papers, die cuts, and enamel shapes from the My Mind's Eye My Heritage collection, and as well a transparency, which I'll show you here in a minute. So first I have my 3 photos that I've printed on my Canon selfie. So they're small. They're like 2.5 inches by like 1.5 inch. I've gone and cut those and I've left a little bit of white border on them. And then this is the background of my paper, this most fabulous map. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay it with this Studio Calico transparency, which has words like embrace life, take it easy, all these great like travel oriented kind of, happy phrases, if you will. And they're in white on a clear transparency. So it's hard to see a little bit in the video, but in the close-ups at the end, you can see it. And what I'm going to do here is with the die cuts, I think there was 68 or 63 pieces in this set from My Mind's Eye, is I've pulled out all of these black and white world, like famous places. I don't know what you would call them, but there's the Statue of Liberty is there, and Big Ben is there, and the Eiffel Tower, and there's a bunch of them. It's actually none of the places I visited on this trip, but I think the idea of kind of showing this kind of global perspective is pretty cool. So that's what I'm doing here, and I'm sort of laying them down where they would sort of be on the map. There's a bit of overlap there because there's so much in kind of Europe and UK, but it works. And then I've got my 3 photos there just down in the bottom, sort of covering up Australia, but I'm going to try not to completely cover it up, but I think I do in the end. So anyway, so there I am. I've got that all sorted. I think it's going to work. And what I've done is I have moved away my transparency, and this is my flat page now. And you can see I've poured the Foxy Roxy sequin mix into my little mermaid tail dish there. And I have also dumped the rest of my Into the Woods sequin mix from my stash. I didn't have much left. Because I was hoarding it because I love it. But it's the brown wood pieces. And so I put that in there as well into the Foxy Roxy, which already had the wood pieces, just to really bring in the brown color to match the map. And then what I've done is, don't freak out, I am using my Zots. They're the mini or the micro Zots, like really tiny, the size of a sequin. And I was just randomly putting a bunch down. On that long strip, they kind of come in like 4s, like a grid. So I was just directly putting those right on the paper. And what I'm doing here is where each of those little Zots are, and you can sort of see a bit of the shimmer, but you'll see how many I ended up putting on. I'm actually putting sequins directly right on those. This is a trick that I learned from Happy Arty Days, Amanda Jane Baldwin, who is also a sparkler. That she does this when she does a shaker pocket, so that when the sequins are shaken to the bottom, it still looks like you've got a sequiny mix in the background. It isn't all just collected in the bottom. And sometimes the other sequins sort of get caught up on them, and so they stay in place a little bit more than sitting at the bottom of your page. So I've put those ones down on the glue. I've put my transparency back on, and then I've gone to my sewing machine and I have put the transparency on top. I literally just put it on top and sewed a straight line, nothing fancy. The sewing machine didn't love this transparency. It's pretty thick, as you can see there. It's not very bendy or flimsy. It did an okay job, but I was going to do sort of kind of rough, messy stitches, but I didn't because I just didn't know if it would hold up. So, and then you saw there, no sequin left behind. I have literally just poured my mermaid tail of sequins into that shaker pocket. And then I've gone back to my sewing machine and I've just done another straight line all the way across the top. The one trick I can say I've learned when you sew a shaker pocket is to really make sure your stitches are super close together, so smaller than a sequin, so none of them can escape from their sequin shaker jail of sorts. And then when you get to the corner, like if you're making a square, when you get to the corner, make sure your needle's in the paper, and then lift up your foot and turn your paper. Put the sewing machine foot down, and then keep sewing. So that way there's no break in the stitch in the corner either, which is a good place that the sequins try and find their freedom. But they will be in my album. They do not get freedom. They are in happy sequin jail. So there I am. I am putting back all those little pieces that I had on there before, and I've just put them back into the spot that I had them. I've got those 3 photos there. Kind of, you can see down there over Australia. And what I'm doing is I'm just going back through the My Mind's Eye die cuts, just auditioning a few more. I kind of find a few bits and pieces already there on the side that I knew I liked when I was pulling out all these little kind of global uh, sightseeing things, if you will. I have some geotags, I've got a little camera, I've got a little guy that says story. And then I'm just going back through for anything else that I think might match. I keep pulling out these amazing transparency little florals, and I think they could have totally worked, but it was a lot. There's a lot going on here. So I'm actually going to not do too much more because that is just an absolutely crazy background, crazy in the best of ways. So I go through a few. You can see I keep reaching for the florals because apparently now I'm a floral girl. But I do put them back. There's just enough in there to do a really cool floral page. So I don't want to take one or two on here when I'll need them for another page, and this page is already busy enough. So then I also go and open these are the enamel shapes. There's a couple of colors of hearts, and then there's 3 colors of circles, black, red, and orange, and then I think a light blue and a black heart. I'm just going back through to see what else I can put on my page here. I don't feel like the photos are popping enough. I mean, obviously I've got like a massive amount of sequins behind, which are obviously going to draw the eye, but I think I can do a little bit better with the photos here. So I go back through and there's this scripty paper in there. And this is a My Heritage collection, so it's like family, grandparent, like those kinds of things are the scripty words. But I just want the black with a bit of texture, that little white of script peeking out. So I think it totally works. You can't actually read it. It's such a little matte behind the photo. And I do think it looks way better on there. It definitely pops. I'm going to rough it up with my little Tim Holtz distresser that I've had in my, keep it in my little dish with like my pen and my glue, all the things that I would definitely need. And it's pretty beaten up there, as you can tell, but it still works wonderfully. And I do like how that black makes those, that photo of me and my best friend Lana. This is when we were I think we were still in Spain. I feel like we were still in Spain. We did the Camino in Portugal and Spain a couple of years ago, and we walked, 687 kilometers. And so what we walked in Spain and what we walked in Portugal is kind of messed up a little bit. And I don't do my journaling on these pages until after I do my design stuff. So I know the date. I always look up the date so I can easily do it, but I have to go back and journal. But anyway, I think it's Spain. It's a cool little town. They made the best little pizzas, and we had sangria and pizza for supper after like walking 20 some kilometers that day. It was just like, couldn't be more perfect. And those little homemade pizzas were like to die for good. So anyway, I decide to back these other 2 photos. I'm using the B side of that black script, or maybe it's the A, whatever that might be, the opposite side, just so that the photo of me and Lana are on black, so they stand up a little bit more. And these guys just with a little bit of the distress side, just give it a little bit of texture behind the 2 photos. I'm still going to overlap them all, but I do think it just makes a difference to sort of break them up from the page, especially with the transparency there. They kind of need a little something to make them come off the page a little bit. So that's how it ends up really looking. And then I'm just going to go through and play with some of the pieces that I want to add to it. And of course, readjust by the tiniest micro little angle over and over again, as we all do. So I did not subject you to all of my little tilting and moving. I did a little bit of that off camera. And then I've come back in and I'm just putting my final pieces in there. And so I've got a little geotag there. And these are way more obvious in the close-up photos. I do decide to again back the photo of the 2 of us. There was this kind of journaling card tag, if you will, in the die cuts there. And so I've just taken that, I'm going to cut it down. And again, roughing up the edges, that just gives it a little bit of texture, which definitely in this case with the flat transparency makes it stand out a little bit more. And then with the 2 pieces of pattern paper behind this one, it also pops up a little bit. I didn't bother with foam because again, this is pretty busy, but I think it gives it a good amount of dimension. And then with that little scrap I took off of that journal tag, I just tossed it up there at the top, just a little tuck, just to kind of bring the 2 patterns together. And then I'm going to figure out a few more places for things. As you can see, I'm clearly thinking about it every time I tap my fingers. And before I do anything else, none of those things, even though they're in the perfect spot, in my opinion, are glued down. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my Zots again. I was thinking about using Sequin, but I think it might pull up on this transparency because it is so like thick and hard. Like it's hard, it's not flimsy at all. So I don't think it would have much to attach to. So I'm using my Zots and they're tiny. So I'm just kind of finding multiple spots for them and just gluing these guys down one at a time. And I think I fast forward here, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I subject you to all of this. But yeah, so just one at a time. And I apologize, I keep hitting the camera. There we go. I did fast forward. Okay. I'm actually standing as I do this and I get a little excited and lean forward. So I'm going to put a date on this page. This is, I believe it was September 19th, 2017 when we did this. And I've got that little hashtag label up there that I'm just going to throw the date on there a bunch of times. And I just have these self-inking stamps from like Staples, no joke. I have two because one goes back to 2010 and then I had to buy a new one when it hit 2020 or 2019 because it's only good for 9 years. And I've been using the same one forever, so they're totally worth the investment. And then there I go. I'm just using my Zots to go ahead and stick everything else down. I did end up kind of clustering most everything down in that bottom corner there. And you'll see, well, you might not see here, but you will in my close-ups. As I was getting my scrapbook stuff out and sort of picking my collection that I was going to use with the Foxy Roxy Sequin mix, one of Amy Tangerine's puffy hearts, the black and white stripy one, fell out of somewhere. I don't know where it was. It must have fallen into the wrong spot at some point. And I don't know, it was like a sign. It totally matched the collection and it looked really good. So it's there just above the story. And again, gives it just a little bit more texture amongst all that other texture on the page. And I have not used Zots much. I find them really easy to pull off the plastic, which is great. But also because they pull off really easy, they end up sticking to my mat a little bit. But it worked out okay. I think I used half the Zots package to do this page, but that's fine. I think I got it on a deal anyway. So, right. And then that one just says photo, and it's like a little arrow, brown and white. And this one is a little black and white camera, which I thought was quite suiting and brought down the black and white from those travel icons into the bottom. So now, sorry, you can see me apologizing with my hand. I got excited. Here I am going through with the enamel dots, and I'm just going to cluster these around. I realized after sewing on the transparency all the way around that it would have been cool with those sequins that I glued directly to the page behind the sequin shaker, at the back of the sequin shaker, to also put some enamel dots in there. But I just wasn't thinking. I was just too excited to make the shaker pocket. So note to self for next time. And that's what Happy Arty Days does, or Amanda Jane Baldwin does quite a bit, is she uses like enamel dots, or she glues on some of the stuff that she's going to be putting in her sequin shaker back there. And it just looks so cool. So I'll remember that for next time. But I do like already the idea of the sequins glued down in the back there, because they do kind of always stay where they should. It's almost like you've kind of got those natural sequin clusters. So this is me. Of course, I'm going to shake it a couple times because it's a shaker pocket. I think that's pretty much it. I do kind of think that the edges need a little bit something, but I've sewn really close to the edge, so I can't do my usual trick of, cutting like a wee baby bit off two sides and then backing it with another type of pattern paper. So instead, I've pulled out my StazOn, because it StazOn will stick on the paper that's showing, as well as the transparency that hits the edge. And I've just making sure there's none on my hands as I touch it. And I've just rubbed it along the edges. This one, the transparency came off the edge just a little bit. So I'm going to cut it down with my scissors, and then I'm going to rub the StazOn again. And that is it. There is stills at the end of this and some close-ups of the final layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. And please do visit the SpiegelMom Scraps shop. I will include links below, and use Brandy15 to get 15% off your purchase. And Foxy Roxy still exists in the store, so pop on over and get it. It's absolutely a fabulous mix. Thanks for watching.